Ready. We're doing it. Welcome to the second episode.
Guys, look, we're different.
Yes. So one thing that was mentioned is like as we're like figuring out what we like and stuff, you're probably going to see some changes in like how our stuff is set up. It's fun. It's an adventure we're exploring.
We are exploring. What? Hi. Oh, hi, everyone.
I did that.
Oh, my God. Guys, we're figuring it out. It's fine.
To episode
It's fine.
2.
No, that was before. We had to do it again.
Oh,
Guys, welcome to episode 2, season 3. We're so excited that you guys are here. No one has the clap that we know of, which is just fine.
It's an old-timey
We have
word
a new
for
set. We
body
forgot
lice.
to say hi. I missed you this time. I actually, which is wonderful.
I didn't.
This is new. This is what, 40 episodes in, 30 episodes in. I miss you guys now. It's nice. We've built a relationship. I'm very suspicious by nature.
Things have changed. Slow to warm.
This is just like, it does. And I'm like an oozy syrup. It just takes a little while to just like.
Oozy.
So we have a topic for you today.
We started off with a lot of like positive energy.
And we're going to give that to you. First of all, you're wonderful. You're great. If you need an affirmation.
Yay, we
start
love
with a
you.
beautiful affirmation.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
You're beautiful.
Good job.
We love you. You're great. You're perfect in where you are right now and wherever your journey is. And speaking of journeys, Guru and I are on another one. Did you guys notice that every time it's a difficult topic, I'm the one to bring it up?
I am by definition non-confrontational. It's a problem and I'm honestly working on it.
Well, I'm surprisingly don't like confrontation. It's just, I think subject matter.
There's a difference between not liking it and like absolutely not being able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because like you don't like, I don't think you like fighting with people, but you can get shit handled when you need to so it's a thing. I was like, we don't need to have a full-on therapy session.
With my derp phase.
So, as we were setting up our YouTube channel, which by definition you are watching, so we did it successfully.
Thank you,
at
Adel.
Some point.
Emata, not Emata. It's Emata. I have that correction. Yeah. Anyway.
For making us look beautiful and giving us a thing to put on a brand new YouTube channel.
It's wonderful.
So excited.
Okay, so to subject.
Okay, so we were like figuring out our description and how we might like explain ourselves and how we might introduce somebody that has never heard of us, what we are doing here. And the idea and phrase fat acceptance came up. Y'all, turns out. So we've talked previously about like just even the word fat being very an intense word and people having feelings.
It is. It's okay. Okay, so this goes back. Can I just like prequel this?
Please.
Like we'll have just like a little before. So
let's do it previously on.
Yeah. So the last episode we left you with the audio version was our Hawaii trip. We talked a little bit about that. And one of the things that came up in the last few months is this idea that we didn't know how to, it's not the word argue. What it is, like confront what was bothering each other about the other one. And so we were learning how to then say something that was true without having to worry about how the other person was going to respond.
There was, there was a lot of like laying down, like there's a lot of doing prep work and I'll speak for myself and Tresla can speak for herself. Anytime I was like, okay, I'm irritated, I don't like this. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm irritated, I don't like this, I was like, how can I set this up and then like guess what she's going to say and then like say all the right things to make sure she doesn't get mad at me. And so most of the time shit wasn't getting said. And then when it was said, it was like crazy all over the place. And generally I was deflating myself of all the actual passionate feelings I had about whatever topic. This is not specific to Tresla, by the way. This just happens to be, we're recording our issues. This is something that is true for me. This is something everybody. That like, okay, so we're what, 4 years into our friendship about? Or do we, so we're about 4 years into our friendship. And it was just a realization. Like, this was a thing. Because we've managed, we take trips before. We go on these adventures. But rarely were we confronted with this kind of intensity. And discomfort.
Yeah, and you guys heard about it. We survived it. But this issue kept coming up with us. And so for me, on my end, I was just waiting for her to say it. Because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't bringing up something that she wasn't ready to, or prepared to talk about. And so I would just sit there and then I would be uncomfortable being like, is she going to say it? Is she going to tell me that she's upset and that she might be mad at me? How do I just make sure that she feels comfortable enough to say it? And this has like gone on for a while. And so this came up in a way, and it was so funny because I would think I was like chopping vegetables. No, I was making this table. I was making this
She was literally using a power drill,
using
you
power
guys.
drills, and it was making this table. And I said, I was like, I was thinking about Hawaii and how we haven't. Like, we may not know how to confront each other about what might be upsetting us. And she goes, what do you mean? And so we talked a little bit about it. And she was I just finished the YouTube description. What do you think? And she read it to me. And of course, I had an opinion because, hey guys, I have an opinion about that.
Well, and you should. This is also very much your thing.
And one of the words that came up was... What is it?
The phrase is fat acceptance.
Fat acceptance. And so it was used in like, come discuss with us body positivity, body acceptance.
Empowerment. Among all the things.
And all the things we stand for. But then she said fat acceptance. And I looked at my dearest, beautiful friend, Shabd, and I said, I got to talk to you about that word. I don't like it.
I was like, oh.
And it was like, boom, 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 boom. Like if Voltron like had suddenly disconnected, like one card disconnected from the body, it was like, or like the armor went on. It was just like an immediate reaction. And so I went, oh, okay. And she goes, I don't, and I said, well, we've had this before. And she's like, I don't remember having this conversation.
We've never had this conversation before.
And I was like, because, my Capricorn came out. I was like, as per this, and this,
per my
and
previous
this,
email.
It totally came out, and we talked a little bit about it. And I said, you're right. We've never actually had a conversation. This is the first time we've been open to having it. And one of the things we realized is we may actually need to have this on video with you guys.
Well, because it's in the body positive community, in the on a larger societal scale, this is us figuring out as a community, not Tresla and I, but the larger community, figuring out how to talk about ourselves, what we're focusing on, what we need for each other and other people. It's a bigger thing. And so I, as somebody that I'm very aware of every time I use a synonym for big, large, anyways,
it's
a lot.
Well, it's the idea that we can disagree.
So we are, and I feel like we might be representative of a larger.
But we are combined on we have an idea of women empowerment, of self-empowerment, of acceptance that we both really have a vision for. But yet there's some details here, just different designs, different things that we're coming up upon where we have to make some decisions. And this one came up. So the word fat acceptance. And there are two girls here, two plus size girls, if you will, talking about it. And I am going to say it. I'm just going to say it. I hate the words fat acceptance. I have no problem.
No, I'm perfect. I wasn't about to throw up.
I don't mind the word. She's like,
so there's going to be a lot of that.
I hate the word. I don't mind the word fat. I don't mind the word acceptance, but something about those two words together, and I know they're all over social media. I know all of that. I have never liked it. I have never liked it. And are you?
I want to have a good conversation. So I want you to feel like you can.
That's how this started. It started out with me saying to Shabd, I don't like the words fat acceptance. And I think originally what did it come back?
So tell me about what it means to you and why you don't like it.
Well, I think I think that you should go first on what it is that you want to say about it so that I can hear you. And then is that
Sure.
Well, this is our first time having this conversation. So it might be a little...
Come on this journey with us.
All of a sudden, I'm the nervous one. It's going to be interesting. Okay, go.
So fat acceptance to me means there are fat phobia and our whole culture is so consumed with diet culture and the way you look and fat phobia. It's literally in everything. And so it's this for me, and I take it kind of personally, and that's my own deal. But for example, working on a college campus, there are all sorts of different things to get healthy, be fit, stay moving. And it's shit signs on the elevator to use the stairs instead. It's these you can sign up for these emails to remind you to get up and move or here, do an exercise. And while it is, I understand, and if I were to ever talk to anybody that designed these, it's supposed to theoretically be a general thing of being healthy, but it all feels like weight loss. It all feels like it's framed around weight loss, and it feels fat shamey to me, and it feels very specific anytime I'm in a conversation, and this happens 5 times a day. If I'm around any number of other people, somebody is talking about their weight, their diet, the cookie they had and they feel so bad about it, or like, oh, I wish I could have this treat and I can't. All of that speaks to the larger culture of you were taking notes and I cheated. It speaks to this culture of being fat is a terribly awful thing to be. And as a fat person sitting in a room, I can't help but go like, okay, so you're putting a lot of angst, energy, worry into not being like me. And so I have a hard time not taking that personally. And so if I am walking around being like subtly told like, I'm not good, my body is unworthy, I need to be doing something different, I should be changing myself in a very major way, I get kind of more and more defensive and frustrated. And so the idea of fat acceptance is accepting the fact that bodies are going to be different, people can be fat, and it's not even about you can be fat and be healthy, because some people can't be fat and be healthy. Some people are disabled or chronically ill or a combination of the two, or they go through some physical trauma. Health is not... It's this idea of people still being like valid and worthy human beings, even if they don't look the way society says we're supposed to. And so fat acceptance is sort of an aggressive pushback of, no, you know what? Like, fat people are a thing and that's fine and fuck you and we're not going to change. And so it is literally to take up space. It's no, yes, I'm going to be fat and you will accept me, because people like being in a workplace, like the appropriate like professional and like corporate attire is very difficult to manage if you are any size outside of a very small range. Like going to restaurants can be hard. Being on a plane can be hard. We are constantly, as a bigger person, I feel like I'm pretty routinely given the information of I need to be smaller, I need to be less, I need to change myself. And so it's this idea of, no, you're going to accept me just how I am, and that is what it is. And sometimes that means that I'm like I'm not super outside of your average range. There are people that are much bigger than me, and they are allowed to be bigger. People are allowed to be whatever shape they are going to be. Some people can change it. Some people can't. Some people don't want to change it. And that those people, it shouldn't be a shameful or bad thing to be very outside of the average range of bodies. Or even like average is like 16 to 18. Women sizes, like
18-20 is the average size of women
right
now.
And so even outside of that, like a brick and mortar store, you are so lucky to get an extra large. On any even plus size store, if you can get above a 3X, you are singing praises. Like, that is so rare, it's very difficult to find. And so it's this idea of, even though we are getting better, we're not there yet. There's still very limited resources for people that are much larger than, for instance, myself. And so it's that fat acceptance of like, I deserve space on a plane. I deserve clothes in a store. I deserve space in this restaurant. I deserve to not be constantly, be given these messages.
No,
so that's what fat acceptance is about.
So I get that that's what the movement's about. It's the words itself that I have a problem with. Mm-hmm. Okay. And part of it, okay, so let's go back. Part of me feels like fat acceptance is just saying, tolerate me. Just tolerate me. It's not asking for inclusion. It's asking me, like, tolerate that I exist. It's asking, it sounds so weird because when you say that, it's like, I'm not going anywhere, so tolerate it. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking to be completely included. I want full inclusion. So like for me, it's fat inclusion. It's that, again, that's not I know we talked about that. And I know that the movement online is about acceptance. Here's the thing. I feel like fat acceptance is a personal journey that you must take, whether it is the idea of putting on fat or getting rid of fat or just accept whatever it is to you. I feel like that is a personal inside your own head thing, and trying to like push that on other people that you must tolerate me, now because you've made it someone else's responsibility to do your work a little bit. And that's what upsets me about that fat acceptance idea. For me, it's an inclusion. I'm not asking for you to look at me and be like, that's great. Because if you put any other word in front of it, and I know that it'll be difficult a little bit, but here, like, I'm Asian, so if I said Asian acceptance, it feels really gross. Like, okay, accept me because I'm Asian and I'm not going anywhere. Like that, any other adjective put in front of it, red acceptance, like anything like that would feel weird to me. And so fat acceptance it's just a matter of toleration. It's not about for me, it's not about including me in the world. It's honestly, I think acceptance comes after inclusion happens. I'm looking for a call to action. And I feel like accepting me, that's not enough for me. Fine, I'll accept that you exist in the world. I accept that old people exist. I accept that like cherry pits exist. Doesn't mean I have to like cherry pits. It doesn't mean landfills exist. I have accepted that. Do I like it? No. You know, and so that's the word in this case. This idea of acceptance is an like internal issue and not this idea of a call to action for other people. The other thing that happens with the fat acceptance movement that really upsets me is that on the journey, so everyone has like, and please, this part, correct me if I'm wrong, because you are, you know, trained. When people have an idea, a lot of times when an idea comes at them, they swing to one side of the pendulum or the other. And so we have that one side where we're like, you know, for a large girl, and I think many of us have experienced it, where the world says I'm wrong, I need to fix it, so you go on calorie restrictive diet, or you cut out all carbohydrates, or you've decided that suddenly you're going to work, you've never worked out before in your life, and now you're going to work out 3,000 hours a week. I know that's a really delicate number. Be very careful with that one. You know, and you're doing this sort of thing where you've gone nuts and you've swung to one, there's nothing healthy about this super intense life that I'm going to live all the time, and I'm going to go to bed now at 10 o'clock, even though I've always stayed up till 2 a.m. and I'm going to be up at 3 a.m. and I'm going to work. Like, that is one side of the pendulum. The other side is very much like, you know what? Fuck you for telling me to take the stairs. I'm never taking the stairs. Fuck you for telling me I can't eat cheese. Fuck you for fuck you. I don't have to be healthy. Fuck you and your emails telling me to get up and move around, when that is actually exactly what your body is designed for. But the idea of saying fuck you, and the idea of saying there's only one extreme, which we face in this world all the time, especially with the images we're bombarded, that we're now forced, by using the word fat acceptance, we now have to accept them too. Extreme acceptance. No, that's your issue. That's not my issue. That's a you problem. That is not a me problem. And that's how I feel about that word fat acceptance and the movement of it. It's more to me about inclusion. Thank you so much. Like, I want to be able to get an email or someone say, take the stairs. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll take the stairs today. Because I chose it. Because it's what I want to do for me. Not because, fuck you, I'm tired of the world telling me what to do. Like, that's an intense... That's a part of the movement that I struggle with. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't like it. I don't, you and I had talked a little bit, and I suggested, because Guru's very obviously passionate and strong on her stance, and I am very passionate and strong on the way I feel about it. And I suggested, I said, you know what? It's not a bad idea for you to create your own playlist to talk about this sort of journey. I mean, even 5 minutes about talking about the email you got or something that enraged you about it, so that people can, because there are people who are on this journey with you. I hate the word so much. I say the word plus size, and we do say plus size a lot. And you know what? That's what the world has deemed us, but I don't like that either. When I say I'm a model, I'm a model. I'm just a model. Plus size is the adjective I use, but size 2 models don't say I'm a size 2 model. I'm, petite model,
Well, so plus implies that there is a non-plus. Yeah. It creates a separation.
That's what I'm saying. A non-plus model doesn't... I mean, if we're forced to say plus-size model, then as a model, you should be able to say, you know what, I'm a non-plus model.
Well, they're straight-size models.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Which is obnoxious. Nobody uses that. Who cares?
But that's what I'm saying. Why aren't they forced to use to say? And that's what I'm saying. To accept something means that there needs to be a call of action, which means that there needs to be inclusivity. For instance, no one, even an average-sized person, feels comfortable in those planes. Children do not feel comfortable in a plane of that size. They have just recently have decreased the size for everyone. Tall people. They can't fit in the planes comfortably. They have to pay extra money for an exit row that still doesn't even suit their body. Mm-hmm. Everything has changed. It is more about inclusivity. It's more about a call to action, because it's a size inclusion. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with size acceptance, but even then that sounds weird to me. If you were to put any other adjective in front of the word acceptance, it would be a little weird.
Well, and so here's my thought with that, because this is the baby steps. We're very much at the beginning of this movement. And when you talk about Asian acceptance or anything else, there literally is that first step. It's like seeing fat people on TV or in movies. For a long time, they just weren't represented. And then when they were represented, it was in a very limited space. So it's literally going from no representation at all to some and maybe like terrible representation, and then the realistic, fully fleshed out, like 3-dimensional characters that we frankly don't see a lot of yet for a lot of different minorities, but whatever, we're working on it. But so for me, acceptance, I understand, is like the baby first step. Where it is, you need to acknowledge that we exist, and I exist as like a whole person, not a caricature. I don't exist as like a thing for you to like point and laugh at and like whatever. I accept me as a fucking human being with like many layers.
So, but why does it have to be the word fat acceptance? That's what I'm saying.
I'm a fat person. I would prefer not to use.
But you're also more than that. If you don't want someone to point and laugh at you, right? If you don't want someone to point and laugh at you and use, I'm going to slow down a little bit.
Well, and so it like glazes over the fact that at first blush, like that is what people we're all superficial. That's a very important and a significant part of my superficial presentation to the world, is how fat I am.
Okay, I see that. And just on a personal note, I've never actually seen that be a thing. What I have seen is the first comment people have ever made about you has been about your hair or your eyes.
Maybe that's why I have pink hair now.
I don't, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's not, I don't, and I'm not trying to like, that's not about me calling you out. That's me saying that, again, that goes back to the idea that that's an intrinsic issue. How do we call out, how do we use something like the word fat acceptance to call out to a society and say, hey, like, we need you to do something about it, when it has to be personal first?
It's saying I exist. Okay, so this idea of acceptance being very much an internal experience, I hear you. I think that ignores the reality of society. That and so even this, like, it like makes me so crazy. So I didn't tell you, I had an experience. I was walking down the street and I was meeting some friends for dinner, and this Indian guy walks past me, and under his breath he goes moti moti, which is the Punjabi word for fat girl.
Okay.
And I'm not even clear if he was doing as like a hey, what's up, curvy girl, or if it was like fatty and in like a shame, anger way. But I had such a reaction. I walked into the restaurant because I was literally like in front of the restaurant. I walked in and my friends could like see me out the window. I go, what just happened? And I had all these feelings because, first of all, like, my choice is not, like, I wish I could have like smacked him, let him know I know exactly what you're saying. Say that shit to my face, you coward. But I didn't. It all happened so quickly, and I was like, what?
Yeah, no one reacts the way they want to.
Right. We all wish we could rewind and do like the proper heroic thing. So for whatever reason, I don't put myself in situations where that happens a lot. But those of us that are much larger, like, I can move about the world, I feel like pretty average, it's like fine. But do you remember all the true life documentaries on MTV?
No.
There's a True Life, I'm getting gastric bypass surgery, that I watched just so many times, every time it was on. And it was a girl, and she was well over 400 pounds, maybe larger. And there's a whole scene of her trying to go to a restaurant with her husband. She like is on a mobility scooter, struggles to like get through the door, and then the camera catches like a little child like pointing and asking questions, and it being a whole thing. And she talks about how she feels very like weird and uncomfortable being in public, and she feels like a freak, and people are like making fun of her, and it's like she's crying in the car. And so the fact that I don't personally have that experience, and maybe it sounds like you haven't had similar experiences.
We had that. Remember the Korean restaurant?
Yeah.
We had that together.
And so what that acceptance means, it is an internal experience, you accepting your body and your reality. But it also does require, I can accept that I want different clothes, but if there aren't stores selling me clothes that fit me that I want, I can try and accept it all I want. I still have to wear the fucking muumuus that I get from Women Within catalogs. Like, those are all my options.
But I don't think it's it's the word acceptance, fat acceptance put together. I hear you, and you know that like that I remember the first time you actually experienced it with me. We were at and I want to go back to that because I just said we've experienced it and then moved on. We were at a Korean restaurant, and I'm half Korean, and so we were just sitting there. We were enjoying ourselves. I mean, I was dressed very provocatively, which is very normal for me actually. And we were attracting a lot of attention, but there is a word in Korean, tung, and it's a lot more than that. But I mean, if you hear that word, it's essentially fat. It's not a compliment. And one of the I mean, it was the first time I think you had noticed that sort of intense, like, because they stare at you with a lot of disdain. They're not going to look and look away like American people do. They're going to straight up just stare at you. And I remember the intensity of it. It was the first time you had experienced it. I still, even having experienced those things, and I'm first of all very sorry that I'm going to choose to believe he was hitting on you because why wouldn't he?
Well, and also the point, like, it doesn't fucking matter. It was a stranger being a jerk on the street.
Or really interested. I know.
Don't.
I know.
Sure. Yes.
I know.
Right.
Well, I mean, here's culturally speaking. I mean, how many times have we heard I really like thick women on our dating apps? We've talked about it. I'd be like, oh, baby, I like those curves. However you put it, it's still a call to where my fat is placed. I mean, my boobs are fat.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, but that is again about the word is to me isn't. I hear what you're saying. I see what you're trying, what it's trying to do. But again, I believe that the fashion industry has accepted that we exist. Listen, they accepted all they want. Have they done anything?
So Karl Lagerfeld died recently, and he's like a very important fashion person. But as people were talking about his legacy, there were all these different quotes about how like disdainfully he like felt about fat women. And this came up, like Michael Kors said some nonsense like this when he was on Project Runway. There's like the fashion industry where they know that we exist. They don't want to see us.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with our curves.
They don't want us. They don't want to make us shit. They don't want to acknowledge that we exist. Chrissy Metz, who's from the This Is Us, has to like struggle to get any sort of gowns made for her. Like Lizzo, I think, talks every once in a while about like struggling to like find like really fierce, awesome fashion. Like she just has shit made for her. But so I understand that like they realistically acknowledge that we are in existence, but they look down on us and are like unhappy. They don't want to dress us. They don't want us to model their shit. That is acceptance, is like, yes, I as a fat person also have fucking money dollars to give you. Make me some shit.
Yes. And again, I agree. Here's the thing. I still think that if they're having the conversation where they don't want to and they're having disdainful, they've accepted our existence. They're just not choosing to include us. This is again like, okay, so back in the times during segregation, they acknowledged that those people existed, that they needed bathrooms, that they needed water fountains, that those things happened, that they needed a place. So they gave it to them, but they're not going to include them. There's no inclusion there. And so for me, again, acceptance, I don't know if we'll ever agree. It's just two sides of a story. You guys are going to have to figure out where you stand here. That's up to you. But for me, it is totally about the word inclusion. I am done. You don't accept me. You don't have to. I'm here. You're still going to see me. Like I physically exist. I can, move my around. I'm on the internet. We're here. Okay. Accepting me is not the issue. Including me is. You can accept that your friend wants to come to the party with you. Including that friend is completely different, and you really like this person. You can have, I'm sure that a lot of these fashion designers have really wonderful large friends that they
don't though. If you don't, and trust
that we don't know about
because they're not. So
if you
have your fucking cute fat friend that is like fun and funny and you are not putting them in your Instagrams, if you don't have pictures of fat people on your Instagram, on your Facebook, in your life, I don't fucking trust you.
There you go.
Woo!
There's my girl. I've been waiting for to come out for 20 minutes, it's fine.
Well,
she is.
And this is your reading. That is the aggression that I'm hearing you saying, that like you're not wanting to like participate in that. And I am very much in that. And so that is why, even though you're right, inclusion is the goal. Inclusion, just like, what is it? Glorification. Let's like keep going up the ladder of like amazing words to talk about.
But that's about so fat acceptance definitely exists. That's not the journey that I'm on as far as this goes. That's why that conversation happened. That may be your journey, and I am excited to support you and anyone else who is part of that journey and needs that support. I am excited to stand there. I'm encourage you and everything else, but to say that that's a sort of part of what we're doing as a whole, that's for me, that's not forward enough.
Okay.
That's not big enough for me. You know what? We've talked about it. I'm not white. Like, whoo, surprise everyone.
We had a record scratch there.
It's like the sky is falling. I'm not white. But that being said, I'm also not full Asian. I'm not full anything. All my life, like at family reunions on my father's side, I was easy to spot. I was one of 4 kids who were, of a different ethnicity, or sometimes 5, depending on if my brother was there. And that's 5 people, right? So 3, 2 of them were half Latin, and the me, my sister, and my brother, we were half Korean, or my brother was full Korean, but we're all there. And so you must be blah, blah, blah's daughter. We were easy to spot, but you set us into a Korean location. We were also easy to spot because you must be your dad's daughter. They knew who we were by our American side because we were not full Korean. They knew who we were on the American side because we weren't full white. There was no place where it was just like, there was just no chill zone for us. We were never fully anything. There was no place to belong. I think I've just been in this sort of mindset longer. On top of everything, you add the fact that I was overweight at a very young age and curvy. Dude, I had B cups, like full on B cups in 3rd grade. Like I was sporting like a proper bra, and it was a lot. Like my whole life stood out. I am done with you trying to figure out how to accept me. I need a call to action. I just want you to include me. It is not, whether you like it in fashion or not to include me, okay, well, someone else will. There are other artists out there who are dying to clothe us. There are other designers. And you know what? Fuck the other ones. I don't need you when there are other artists. There will always be other artists. There are always people out there who are dying to be part of that, to include us. So that's where I'm headed to. Like, let's fizzle them out. But here, this is a call. Inclusion also is a call to the people who want to purchase only from designers, who don't include your friends. You have a chubby friend, you have a plus size friend, but you're supporting that designer that you just so much love, who can't even carry anything above a 0X. Okay, you're part of the problem now. And if you didn't think you were part of the problem, you are now. You're guilty of it now. Like that, what does it say? Until you know. If you didn't know, you didn't know, but now you know.
Now you know. Now you know better.
And if you're a supporter of them, then that is also part of it. It sucks because it has to be on such a grand scale. But they make moves when they go where the money goes, ultimately. Sure.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these designers have to go where the money goes, because if there's no money, then they don't go.
Yeah, they don't.
They can't support their own lifestyles. They can't, that is entirely, that's where we have the control as Americans and consumers.
Well, and so and I spoiler alert, the issue is that we just understand, we understand and own that phrase differently, and I'm never going to force us to use that phrase if that makes you uncomfortable. I try to, and I don't all the time because I don't know how everybody in the room reads it. I try to refer to myself as fat. I don't care about curvy. I don't care about plus.
Yeah, the
whatever.
word fat isn't a bad word.
But and that's
puppies are
people
fat.
react differently to that.
Puppies are fat, piggies are fat, little baby animals, little babies are fat.
It's so
we don't look at it like you a skinny baby.
Let me tell you that I saw a Tumblr post recently about people oh, I really enjoy this adorable fat cat, but I'm also worried about its health and think you should put your cat on a diet. I was like, don't worry about it. That's not your responsibility. I don't know why.
And that's the thing.
But people do think of animals as fat.
I'm saying, like,
and they fat shame them, and it's wrong.
We were going in an entirely different direction. I'm okay.
I had another point and then I lost it.
You said it several podcasts ago. You said that, what was it? You said anytime you look in the mirror and you say something negative about yourself, pretend like you're saying that to a little baby, or like you're saying, oh, I'm fat. Well, now start pretending like you're talking about a little chubby, like, baby, or a little chubby little puppy who's just been born, who's still got like all its weird, like, you know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So again, it goes back to this negative self-talk. It goes back to like the woulda, coulda, shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Did I say that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in those instances where like that asshole, as you've deemed him, who said those things to you outside the Indian restaurant, is literally that. You know what? That's a him problem, not a you problem. You are happy. Sure. Sure. You're happy to sort of be like, you were happy to go. You're happy to have your friends. He's the one with the problem. He's the one who has to look at you. Let's all move on. The internet is going to definitely like be out there. They're going to definitely be shaming you. They're going to be saying all kinds of things. I am of the right. I mean, I talk about it all the time. I work out a lot. I am constantly on some sort of nutrition plan. We're watching our producer get very mad at planes. I'm always on something, and people are always mad because I'm, like, oh, I can't eat that, or I'm not eating that. For me, it's just about, like, I've always been a geek when it's come to this. Since I was, really young, like, researching the latest crazes, the superfoods, the da-da-da-da-da. And that's, and I mean, we're relatively the same size. We share clothes, we do our thing, and...
I don't know if we are anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
I'm just saying.
But it's very much about, for me, like on my journey. Okay, you don't know. That's the other thing I was gonna say. You don't know, as a consumer who looks at us, who's gonna make these comments, who I assume will make the comments about, oh, you need to lose weight, you need to go to the gym. Bitch, come join me because I'm already there. But on top of that, you don't know when this person started that journey. You have no idea. They could have started yesterday, and you're the asshole who just made it worse for them.
Well, my thing with that is, whether you work out or not, it's not anybody else's business. I'm being told to talk to this camera. It's nobody else's fucking business. Whether I am a marathon runner at 250 pounds or I sit on my fucking couch all day, not your business. My body, my choices. Back the fuck off. Like, that's what that is. It is not up to you to, like, justify. Like, part of it, we talked about, like, the performative fatty, where, like, when you're outside, you eat a salad. When you're out in public, you eat a salad, and then you go home and eat whatever else. Mm-hmm. Like, we all go through that thing of, like, judging, and, oh, I'm not going to have that certain type of food because other people might look at me a certain way. Like, the point is, like, other people's bodies are not your fucking business. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how often I'm going to the gym. Don't worry about what I eat. Don't worry about it. And so this sort of thing where, like, we're entering the world of YouTube. I've heard terrible things about comments. I believe in us. I think we can do okay. But
we've just been told not to look at it. We're having someone else do our comments for us.
Well, I'm fully prepared for people being shitty because people make shitty choices.
People are bored and make shitty choices, and we live in a world. I mean, it's a swipey world. We swipe when we like something. We say something we don't, and it's very kumquat.
No, I don't. We have a safe word. We're not kumquatting. I just need to roll it out.
Yes, people are shitty. Here's the thing. It's our job to not be.
Yeah.
It's our job to speak our mind, to be sincere. I mean, that's the one thing you will find with us. We try to be as sincere as possible. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons we had this sort of like, I don't even know if it was a debate as much as it was a discussion, is that there is conflict. And the conflict, 4 years later, we're still having conflict on just our vibe of our channel and various other things.
Well, it's healthy. That's how you work with another person.
How to meet that conflict is the truth. And you're going to have sincerity from us in a different way. Like you'll be a part of what we can offer you, and there's no way. We're not going to try to lie to you. We're not trying to put anything out there that's different. We're just sincerely saying, listen, the world is full of assholes, and they're full of assholes, and it's not your job to join them. It's not your job to join being an asshole. You can make this world a better place by
like chilling the fuck out. It's okay. Relax.
A little weed. Don't do that if it's not legal in your country.
If it's not legal in your
in
state.
California, it's fine.
I'm like exhausted.
Yeah. It's had a full day, so I think maybe a little bit of self-care right now would be really cool.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to say though about fat acceptance?
It's still
Should
very
we be staying
important
tuned
to me.
to possibly like you doing little shorts about how you feel about
maybe,
it?
and I am certainly not the authority figure on this at all.
I feel like if you're going through the journey, you're definitely an authority figure.
I'm an authority. So, but if you're interested, there is a book, Virgie Tovar, VIRGIETOVAR, called You Have the Right to Remain Fat. It's a tiny little booklet. It's incredible. She's done a lot of really incredible work. There is also the book that Dietland was based on that I haven't read, but I think is really amazing. And there's also Jess Baker wrote a book called Things No One Will Tell Fat Girls. Like, these are all people that literally have things no one will tell fat girls. These are like, I'm just aware that I haven't done like research. I don't have like statistics to back me up. I have a lot of feelings. You see my feelings. I have a lot of feelings. So, but if you want like more like information fleshed out in a thoughtful way, go look up those books.
And also look up Guru.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry. She's talking about everyone else being an expert and blah, blah. Okay, so she hasn't written a book, but I swear to you, she's lived at least 10,000 hours of this, and she's definitely an expert, and she's definitely spent her time for the last 4 years learning everything she can about what is going on. And so, you guys, I encourage you to encourage her. Write her on Instagram or Yes at Body Politics on Instagram and tell her that you want to hear from her. If you align with this, if this is where you're at in your pendulum.
Share your thoughts, you guys. Like, I want to hear more about this. If you have strong feelings, if you really feel like you're on, I don't want to call it Team Tresla because it's not like we're opposing teams.
No.
But just like, how do these phrases make you feel? Do you use the word fat to describe yourself?
Are you ready to?
Are you ready for empowerment and inclusion?
I was like, are you ready to graduate to inclusion?
Judged! I've been judged! Pause your I just injured Adele in her ears.
It's just God, I can't even. I was like, are you ready to graduate? Or do you want to just like stay? Do you want to just like stay very low? It's fine.
Okay, so we're wrapping up, I think.
we need a little.
Should we do a hug?
Should we do a hug? Oh yeah, sure.
I love you. And I love you. You're perfect. Thank you.
You guys hug yourself today because listen, you guys are wonderful. Whatever part of the journey you're on, we're on it too in some way, shape, or form. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about your journey. We want to hear about some of your favorite designers. Christy Metz, I guess if you're listening, like hit us up because we would love that too. You know how I feel about
Don't
this.
know how to make you a dress though, girl. I do.
I could make you a dress.
Watch that not be her name. I don't feel really bad.
It's from This Is Us, right?
From This Is Us.
Yeah, no,
okay.
You're good.
Great.
You're good. We love them. We love Rebel Wilson. We love them all.
Yeah.
We love all the girls. Okay, guys, we love you. You're perfect.
Bye.
Keep going on your journeys. Bye.